In L'Arche, we are people with and without intellectual disabilities, sharing life in communities. L'Arche's mission is to make known the gifts of the people with intellectual disabilities. Like many other organisations and institutions, we are care providers. But what makes L'Arche different is that we share life together, building relationships based on trust, friendship and mutual care.
The people with intellectual disabilities, they don't have what is normally valued. They don't have great accomplishments and great gifts, and they don't have health very often. They very often don't have bodies that function very well. In the world's eyes, they don't have very much. They're very poor people. But what they do have is what the world lacks, I suppose. They have real honesty. They have a real sense of the heart, of loving from the heart. They lack many of the masks that the rest of us have been, in a way, forced to wear.
Our residents are called core members, those at the core of our communities.
I lived with my sister for 3 years, and she couldn't look after me because she was working. So I had to get out of there and move in here.
I came to live in L'Arche in 1985, 24 years ago. I was up in an institutional place for 7 years. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So I'm happy now to be in L'Arche. So L'Arche is my great home and I love it.
L'Arche was founded by Jean Vanier.
He had a friend, a French Dominican priest called Père Thomas. And Père Thomas was chaplain to a home for men with an intellectual disability or a mental handicap. This meeting really was the beginning of the idea of L'Arche. It transformed Jean's life. He discovered that in these men, some new part of him was awakened. He had been used to commanding people as an officer in the Navy and then teaching people as a professor of philosophy. And here he was confronted with people who weren't interested in what was in his head about Socrates or Plato or whoever. He was confronted with people who were saying to him, "Will you be my friend? Will you stay with me?"
Today there are 131 L'Arche communities all over the world. L'Arche is the French word for the Ark. In Ireland we are 4 communities, in Kilkenny, Cork, Dublin and Belfast. And currently there is a project in the Sligo area to build the 5th community.
There's 3 sort of pillars of L'Arche. There's the relationship, transformation, sign, and you'll see that all over the literature. And that is why I really like L'Arche, is because number one, you have the relationship, building relationships with different people that you don't normally run into in everyday life. And I'm not talking about just disabled people. I mean, there's cultural differences between, in our house we have, 4 or 5 different nationalities, completely different cultures, coming all together. So there's relationship, there's the transformation of myself. I'm not who I was 5 years ago. I'm a different person than I was, and I like me better than what I was. And then there's the sign. We're living a life that is a sign of how the world could be, not concentrating on wealth, not concentrating on personal self, but living for something more.
Every second I live, I love you.
In the old Irish language, the people with learning disability were known as Dina Ladia. That this is before, when they were in the villages and before we put them into hospitals in the 19th century and the 20th century. Before that, they were tended to be in the villages and in the homes, and they were kept around. Now, what does that mean in Irish? It means the person with God. That was their perception then. That changed in the next 2 centuries, I think. But I think it's time to change back again.
One of the most remarkable characteristics of L'Arche is the volunteer work. We welcome people from abroad for 1 year or more to live in the community houses as care assistants.
So I met Lars in France in Compiègne community. So that's the first I met Lars personally, but I was reading the book of Chinvinier before. Yeah, I think everything is unexpected. I did not know that this is how Lars community, how we learn from them, how we will love them despite of their limitations and despite of our limitations, how we share love to each other. Paddy is the first core member of Lars Kilkenny. Paddy knows every people when we are walking here in the town, and every time we meet a lady or a man and they call, Paddy, how are you?
I'm getting up at 7:45 because we're having morning prayer at 8 o'clock. Then, we make breakfast, make some tea, and then we are doing cleaning and all that has to be done. Meetings, team meetings, and I had to learn cooking, and I discovered that I like it. People like to eat my food.
He's a very good assistant. I'm glad to have him as a brother. And he gives me showers. He takes me for a walk, not far from here. He brings me down to Granger's to have a drink. A drink. Oh, flip, I came out the wrong. Oh God, no. Yeah, I'm drinking and driving.
Living in community is not easy. First of all, you need lots of patience. That building trust and relationship, it is something very slow, and you cannot expect anything right away. So you may have to invest your time and energy into relationships and trust for months and months. When you finally get back something in return, community life can be very, very difficult and very, very tough sometimes. But it is always a challenge. It's challenging me to grow, it's challenging me to become a better person.
Last year in May I had my baptism in this community, and my godfather is one of our residents. This is like a family. I have this feeling that somebody is here. I think it's not for everybody, but everybody can try it. They will see how they feel. But I really like it. That's why I came back again for another year.
I wouldn't expect to learn so much by staying in L'Arche about myself. I think I didn't have that before, that I know now a bit how to make Aiden happy, how to make other people happy, by very little things. So it's a very good experience for me. Aiden is a very good brother, and I'm glad to have him here. I miss very much, when I went for a holiday with Shota, I missed him a lot. It's very good to have him around.
He missed me when he was in uni. And when he leaves in July, I'm going to miss him very, very much, because he's a great brother to have.
And people from the local area are also welcomed to share their time and talents in the houses.
We welcome people who can bring other gifts, gifts such as music and art and drama. We have people who come to help us with cooking. There is one friend who has been coming for 15 years, and for most of that, this friend of ours, she cooks a number of meals, and she provides, in a sense, a grandmother role within our community, and she's somebody who's very, very dear to us. We just have people who come for all sorts of different reasons and who bring their gift of friendship and love to our house.
Recently, a very interactive place for people with intellectual disabilities was founded. Café L'Arche opened its doors in 2007 on the main street in the town of Callan.
People who want to support us then might feel shy of going up to the workshop, but they feel very easy about popping into a coffee shop, having a cup of coffee, reading our brochures, talking to the lads who are serving them. So it's a very easy way of being part of the community.
The banks of an urban morning that hungers the first light much, much more than the mountains ever.
Santi! It's coming.
L'Arche is a place of celebrations. We celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, new arrivals, community gatherings and goodbyes. But we see celebration as something different from a party. To celebrate in L'Arche is to give thanks for the gift God has given us in having brought us together from a place of loneliness to a place of belonging.
But what it really allows us to do is to allow people who have disabilities to offer their gift in the world. And their gift, as we know it today in Northern Ireland, is that they disarm people. They have this extraordinary way of softening the space, creating soft space. I'll give you an example. Jeffrey, who was one of our first core members and died tragically and suddenly in the middle of the night, and we were bereft after his death. And when at his funeral service, which was a Church of Ireland service just up the road from our house, hundreds of people came. The church was packed right out into the driveway. And when we asked them afterwards why they came, they all said the same thing. They said, he welcomed me at the door as if I was the most precious person in the world. He went, friend, wee cup of tea, come for a wee cup of tea. It's probably the most transformative act in the world, to offer somebody a wee cup of tea.
L'Arche isn't for people with learning disability. They're at the centre of it, but it's for society. It's got a message. People who have learning disability will teach people and society in a way how to behave properly as human beings, because it's quite obvious if you read the paper every day, most societies are not operating very well. There is something gone wrong, and what's gone wrong is that we've lost our simplicity and humanity, and we shouldn't be doing these things. If you live in a simple way, like in L'Arche, and you're around people who will constantly remind you that you don't have to have a lot of money, or you don't have to have this, but you do have to care for people, and you do have to interact in a way where it's a two-way relationship. Those who appear to have nothing may have more to give than anybody else.
I skim across black water without one submerging onto the banks of an urban morning that hungers the first light much, much more than the mountains ever do. And she, like a ghost beside me, goes down with the ease of a dolphin and emerges unlearned, unshamed, unharmed. And she is the perfect creature, natural in every feature. And I am the geek with the